We're going live, going live, going live. Oh, we are live. Oh, we are live, we are live, we are live. Hello, the internet. It is me, Herms. It is Jesse over there. And this is the show with no name, coming to you straight out of the lateral. This is a show where we talk about fantasy football, which is something that a lot of people do, but we do it with our thoughts. So that makes it different, right? Anyways, I'm Herms. You can find me on Twitter at HermsNFL. I do a lot of different stuff. And that's Jesse. Say hello.
What's up, guys? Jesse with my Twitter is at Bacon Games Jesse. You can find me there on Twitter doing some stuff, and you can find me here doing some other stuff, talking football every Monday, Sunday, or whenever we find time for this thing. So, yeah, I'm ready to talk. Something big happened over the weekends. I think we should address some of it. Man.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys heard, but there was the NFL draft that happened. It was like a whole thing. So, like, remember all those college players that we were watching on TV before? Some of them are professionals now. That's a pretty fun development, So we're going to be talking about it because, oh my gosh, rookie fever. Oh, God, it's real. Dude, every single year, just like we talked about, like last weekend, before all the hullabaloo went down with our buddies, Felix and Jeff. That shit was so much fun. The rookie running backs, always a blast. The rookie wide receivers, occasionally a blast. The rookie quarterbacks, sometimes it's hit or miss, but we've had some really fun ones in recent memory, including somebody you really don't like who will remain nameless for your sake. Mm-hmm. But yeah, dude, a lot of new faces and a lot of new places, and it's time to start breaking it down. It's time to start getting into it. And, we may or may not have a fun guest joining us. Who knows? We'll see. Oh, but for now, it's just the two of us. Oh, man, who wrote that song? I'll figure that out later. But we will start today with the rookie quarterbacks and the rookie running backs. We'll be looking at it more so for the 2021 season, but since it's topical and a lot of people play in dynasty leagues and are having rookie drafts right now, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of that too. It's not really my area of expertise per se, but I know a little bit. We'll see what's up. We'll see what's popping. We'll see what's good. So, unless you have anything else to add, we can get the show rolling.
We need to start with Trevor.
Yeah, you might as well just dive right in.
Might as well, just because he's gonna be on my number one rookie quarterback for redraft and dynasty. Especially going into next year, they've got ETN paired with him, which is not nothing to say. It's nice to have that sense of comfort at least a little bit going into the next season. The offensive line for the Jaguars is not that bad at all. I don't care what people say. And they've got three wide receivers that I feel like people can trust in Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, and DJ Chark. So it's not like they're lacking weapons like a number one overall team, drafting team kind of normally does, at least offensively. So I'm a fan of that. I mean, he's got guys to throw to. He's a good player. He's got a college coach that we hope can, at least air the ball out. I don't think there's anyone who should supplant him. He also can run the ball, decently well. Not like he's going to do it a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him have rushing that's similar to Herbert last year. So yeah, I think he's going to be a great number one rookie guy for sure next year, 100%.
Dude, and like to your point, Trevor Lawrence, out of Clemson, for those of you who don't know, you probably do, but if you don't, there's a fun fact. Number one overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, yeah, like the team that drafts number one overall typically doesn't have a lot around for the quarterback to immediately walk in and work with, but he does. It's pretty unique. It's going, oh my gosh, dude, I'm really excited about this. And, everybody's heard the name of Trevor Lawrence for years and years and years. He was sealed into being the number one overall pick, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, something. He was kind of the little chosen one, everybody always says, best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. And there's certainly validity to it. And, to your point, he has some legs under him. That's certainly going to help. And he can also make all the throws, which is going to really help considering the fact that he plays quarterback. So looking at it, in my early redraft rankings that I'm putting together, the lateral site rankings coming out soon. I've got him tentatively around like quarterback. Wait, why did I pull down the page? Because I'm trying. Yeah, this is great entertainment, folks. Quarterback 20. Not because I think he's going to be particularly, like horrible or anything, but just because, like learning curve, it'll probably, take time for it to pick up, blah, 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 blah. And maybe sort of like the end of the season when he starts to find himself in a groove at the professional level, that's when it could really pop off. But at the same time, that is where I have him now. That is not where I will have him. We got to see what kind of happens in camp. All the reports being like, is he doing well? Is he acclimating quickly? I don't know. And working with Urban Meyer and Darrell Bevel, I mean, like these are professional dudes that he's going to be, under the tutelage of. So, like, I don't know. I could definitely see myself pushing him a little higher up because, he is the chosen one. This is a dude that everybody's been excited about for a long time. So, where do you kind of have him in your very, very early rankings?
Well, I'm actually curious who you have him around. If he's at 20, what is that like around? Like because I'm trying to build this stuff off scratch too. Like I'm not there with like my rankings yet.
Yeah.
Still working on my rookie stuff. So what is that like around? Like, is that around Goff? Is he? Would you rather have him or Goff, or is that like kind of where we're looking at?
So I have him ahead of Goff, but behind guys like kind of like Matt Ryan. A little
Yeah, like Matt Ryan
behind,
more for sure.
a little behind Joe Burrow, just because like,
Yeah,
well, I mean, Joe
Burrow.
Burrow with his legs under him would be a lot higher than I currently have him at. I think quarterback 16 is where I have him right now, and that's only because I don't know if he's even going to be ready week 1. It may take him a while, so that's again significantly less to do with Burrow than Burrow's leg than it actually has to do with Burrow himself. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like, definitely I would prefer to take Trevor Lawrence over a Jared Goff, over a Daniel Jones, over a Broncos starting quarterback, because I don't know who it's going to be. So, like, those are things I can definitely pencil in right now and say, yes, I would take the gamble on the rookie over some of those guys right now as we speak on May the 3rd of 2021. That's kind of where I have him at. Just ballparking it kind of in your own mind. Where do you kind of see him in your rankings?
20 sounds somewhat fair. I'm just looking at like fantasy pros right now, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with him. I think maybe he's like 22 for me ish. I think I'd rather have Ben over him. I think I'd rather have Tua. But then it gets worse. Yeah, I think I'd rather have him over like guys like Darnold or Carr, especially this year. Probably have him over Goff. And I mean, I have him over all the other rookies. So he's getting close. Like, I'd rather have him than Daniel Jones too, which might be high. Him and Baker are tough too, because Baker, I think, is so much more. He's so much more of a better like actual quarterback than he's fantasy quarterback. So, I think to lead my franchise, I might rather have Baker at this point, currently in their careers. But for fantasy wise, I think I'd rather have Lawrence over him. So maybe around 20, maybe around 18, I could see him a little bit, because there's some guys I'd rather have there, that are below him, that I'd rather have above, and all that other stuff. So, but he's in a good situation, I think, especially for number 1 pick. So I like that a lot, and I think there's obviously a lot of upside. So it's exciting.
Absolutely.
For me, especially.
Oh, well, of course, yeah. Resident Jaguars fan. Of course, it's very exciting. But and a comment that we received in the stream, expecting Trevor Lawrence to outperform proven vets like a Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins is really hard to predict. Which is, that's a great point to make. Which is why that more conservative ranking, again, nothing really to, nothing against the dude or whatever, but like, yeah, expecting a rookie quarterback to do super well right away, not only just in real life, but also in fantasy football, is very, very difficult to predict, because like not everybody's going to bust out the gate and have a Justin Herbert type season.
Yeah, and to the commenter's point, whatever, I'd rather have Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins. Yeah, 100% more than Lawrence this year. It's not close for me.
I have them both over him. Yeah, dude. Oh, also another fun thing, little foreshadowing into some guys we're going to be talking about coming up next, because I think that's about all we really have to say about Trevor Lawrence. Who do you think starts an NFL game first? Trey Lance of the 49ers, Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears, or Mac Jones of the New England Patriots?
I'm gonna rank them. I think Fields 1, Jones 2, Lance 3. Lance definitely 3. If you want to switch Mac Jones for Fields around, I think that's fine. But Lance is definitely going to be the one who's sitting the longest out of them. I think Fields is most likely because they have a 1-year deal on Dalton, and he wasn't even on the team last year. I feel like it's possible Cam starts this year and gets at least a few games in there before he's replaced like he should be. But I think Fields might be their day 1 or week 2. It might be even like a tie-out situation where he gets 1 game and then we're done. We're on to Fields. I don't think that happens for Mac Jones. It definitely doesn't happen for Trey Lance unless an injury happens.
Hell yeah. So actually, let's just take it in the order in which they were picked in the NFL draft. Trey Lance, San Francisco 49ers. Boom. The the dude out of North Dakota State, he's got wheels. He's got the arm. But not that many career starts in college. That's something that some people are concerned about. And San Francisco still has quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster. Could that change? Who knows? But at this point, I kind of feel like it's a safe assumption that they will want Trey Lance to sit and develop for a little while. So perhaps toward the end of the season, he could have some relevance, especially if Garoppolo just really falls off and they need to pivot. They're looking for a change, whatever. If that were to happen, let's just not even worry about, because for Dynasty, a very different conversation. Of course, I'm very interested in taking him, especially in Superflex, with one of the top 3 to 4, maybe 5 picks or whatever. If he falls past the first 5, I think that's just obscene. But, let's not worry about where he would, like end of the year in terms of, redraft fantasy, all that stuff. Let's just say if he ends up being the starter at any point, what type of production do you think we can expect out of him? Because I think it would be super exciting to have that dude with the Konami code running around. A lot like when Deshaun Watson came in his rookie year, he had to sit for a while, do whatever. But when he finally got, thrust into it, his athleticism and his ability to run around and also just have the rocket for an arm, that paid dividends right away. That was fantasy points aplenty. So if he were to be asked to step in, what type of production do you think you could expect in that offense?
Yeah, so before we talk about that, I think my expectation excuse me. My expectation is that Lance does not start a game this entire year because I think San Francisco is going to be good this year. I think they'll be good with Jimmy. So I don't see him starting this year. So I'm nowhere close to drafting him in redraft. But theoretically, if he does, Jimmy's gotten hurt in the past. If he gets hurt, or if for whatever reason they're bad, which I do not expect them to be bad, I expect them to be very good again. I think we could see some good stuff, like you mentioned with the Konami code stuff. Get me a running quarterback, man. I'll take all the running quarterbacks you got. I didn't. The film is interesting. It's, North Dakota State. It's definitely a huge jump to the NFL, especially in that really tough division. That NFC West is real tough. I'll take some. I don't want to say place my bets, but I like having rushing quarterbacks. So I'm not really sure how I feel about the talent overall. But he's got a good offensive line behind. He's got a great coach, one of the best in the NFL for producing quarterbacks who probably wouldn't succeed in other places. So I like that about him. I would definitely be less excited about him early on if for whatever reason he starts like week 4. I'd be really not interested compared to like week 12 or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, dude, because be on the lookout, everybody, down the stretch. If he were to get that opportunity, that would be a priority waiver ad that could definitely pay dividends. But to your point, early on, especially, like I said before, Jimmy Garoppolo still on the roster. Maybe sit and give him time to develop. But going back to some... Oh, yes.
In redraft, I think he's undraftable for me. I just want to say that and reinforce that again. I'm not drafting him. There's no way.
Oh, yeah. I have him at the very end of my top 24, just in case you're in a deeper league that has enough of the bench spots, all that. If you really want to stash the dude, or if you play in a 2 QB league and you end up taking like 3 quarterbacks or something, then yeah, sure. Throw that guy on the bench. You have time to wait. That could, the late season payoff definitely worth potentially having stashed away ahead of time. So that way you don't have to run to the waiver wire or, drop a bunch of fab dollars and be like, oh my God, am I going to win the bid? What's going to happen? He'll already be there. It'll be cool. But yeah, man, who else is really exciting? Somebody that you talked about before, who I also agree will probably not have the chance to start week 1, but by, I think, at max, week 5 at the latest, will end up becoming the starting quarterback for his team. Justin Fields out of Ohio State. He fell a little further in the draft than a lot of people thought he would. I personally thought he was going to end up in Denver. They had other ideas. He ends up in Chicago. For the first time, seemingly ever, the Chicago Bears have a pretty solid starting quarterback prospect. Now, I mean, like, again, obviously it's way too soon. I'm not going to be like, he's a Hall of Famer, book it. Like, no, not that. Some, we like to get really excited about things, but we got to pump the brakes every now and then. But objectively speaking, I mean, come on. The guy's tremendous. And he's walking into a situation right away where he has Allen Robinson to throw to. He has Darnell to the moon, Mooney, who I'm very, very excited about. And, yeah, man, I'm really excited about Justin Fields. Where do you see him coming out for 2021?
You're not even going to mention Cole Kmet? What's wrong with you?
Well, okay. I still don't know what's happening with Jimmy Graham, so I'm forcing myself to hold in the Cole Kmet love. Because, like, dude, I'm bottling that energy for if and when that day comes. Because the minute Jimmy Graham leaves that roster, I will not shut up about Cole Kmet. So I'm really more or less saving the audience. But
okay,
anyway,
fair.
Justin Fields, what's up?
He's my third ranked rookie in all of the drafts that rookies are involved in. So I'm probably lower than the consensus, but I mean, this is the best quarterback Allen Robinson's ever had throwing the ball, and he's getting peak Robinson right now. He's like 27, 28, which is just about peak, I think, for these guys, or maybe a little over it, but pretty close. So I'm excited for him to get, number one wide receiver like that, because he did not have one of those in college, really, Fields meaning. So yeah, it's I think it's an upgrade for both of them, which is nice. I don't know how I feel about Mooney. They added to the offensive line too in Chicago with the guy at Oklahoma State, Tevin Jenkins, right? Yeah, so that's good at least. I think the offensive line was hurt last year, was okay. But yeah, I mean, I like Fields enough. He's definitely like in the top three guys for quarterbacks, I think, are in a class of their own for this draft. So I still like him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a better year than Trevor Lawrence even. Like, these guys are all pretty good quarterbacks, the top three at least. And it's not like he's going to a bad situation really at all. I mean, it is Chicago, and it is Matt Nagy, who my father is a big Bears fan. It reminds me how much he hates Nagy every single day. I'm not sure if I agree with that, but, it's Chicago quarterbacks for whatever reason. They don't have a good track record. Maybe it's playing in the cold. Maybe it's playing for bad teams with bad offenses, which I don't think the Bears really have one. But, I mean, we'll see. It gives me a little bit of pause. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the top rookie, but I'm taking him third.
I dig the vibe. In my early redraft rankings so far, I do have Fields a little further down just because of the fact that, like, again, the presence of Andy Dalton, he'll probably get a few starts, whatever. So, I mean, like, if you're kind of like what I said about Trey Lance, but a little more of an urgent need to, want to draft. If you are in a, 2 QB, deeper league, of course you're going to want to invest in a guy like that early who has the chance to take over sooner rather than later. But I mean, man, another dude, he's got some wheels. Because didn't he run a 4.45 40 time?
He might have. I just don't care at all about pro days or combine stuff about prospects ever. Like I just tune out. It's all noise to me, honestly. I mean, cool. He can run fast. I mean, sure. I saw it on film. It was fine.
Hell yeah, dude.
I just personally, I don't care. Like, yeah, I don't care.
No, but I'm just, but it just goes to show rushing floor, good for quarterbacks, very important to have another dude that definitely fits that bill. And going to a guy that does not have that, McCorkle Jones, the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say.
I wish he had some wide receivers to throw to. That would be cool. But yeah, like we kind of mentioned, I'm not sure when he's going to start. If he's going to start, I think he should start immediately because he's the best quarterback on that roster. But at least he's an insane offensive line to throw behind. The Patriots, they keep pumping out offensive linemen like it's, I don't know, like it's going out of style. I don't know the best, whatever words to use there, but they've got a great offensive line. The guys they signed in the offseason are definitely a big downgrade compared to what McCorkle is normally throwing to. And I don't really think he created that much separation with his own throws. I think he threw to a lot of open receivers, and that will not be the case with this Patriots team. So we'll see. If we're talking about like redraft rankings for rookie quarterbacks or regular quarterbacks, he's not super draftable for me. I don't think I'll draft him at all.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine just leaving him out there on Waiver Island. I don't really have much of an interest there. But again, keeping it, topical for all the people that play Dynasty, it's rookie draft season. So I mean, for super flex leagues, I mean, like the first, you know, three dudes we talked about, I mean,
Mhm.
like obviously they're going to be going super high. Trevor Lawrence probably definitely the 101 in that format. Lance Fields also well within the top, four, top five. And then I've seen Mac Jones go a few different, like, I don't know. I've seen him go late first. I've seen him in the very early second. It really kind of depends. If we were to look at this from a Dynasty Superflex standpoint, just, again, with the understanding, like, this isn't like, you know, our area per se, but we participate in the game. We kind of have a decent feel for this stuff. So why not just share our opinion for the sake of it? Where would you be interested in Mac Jones if you were looking for a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it would a little bit depend on if I needed a quarterback right now or if I could wait a little bit. He'd either be 5 or 6 for me,
I dig the vibe.
depending. So, like, he'd be 5 if you need a quarterback and 6 if you don't.
It makes enough sense to me. I'm definitely with it. Yeah. So I guess as far as the quarterbacks go, is there anybody else that you want to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk about my man, Zach Wilson, the king, my
Ah, I
number
was hoping that
two.
we would all forget. Damn it. Ah, jeez. Anytime, I try to avoid talking about the Jets, but here it is, cats out of the bag. Zach Wilson, the second overall pick. I tried my best. But it didn't work.
I'm a huge fan of Zach Wilson. I think people are sleeping on him. I was looking at the Fantasy Pro rankings. He is 31st in redraft, which I think is absurd and a huge value. They've invested in their offensive line a lot last year. They signed Fant. They got Vera Tucker. They got Becton in the draft. They got Van Rotten, who I like a decent amount too. Like, they've added to this offensive line. It is not a joke. The Jets aren't a joke. I feel like people really think they're a joke. They're going to be a joke next year. They're not. They got a pretty solid defense too. And they've got a really nice young offense that I'm a big fan of. Look, Zach Wilson is the perfect quarterback to lead this team with Denzel Mims and Corey Davis on the outside. The perfect. And now he's got a great slot receiver in Elijah Moore. He still has Jamison Crowder there. I am a big fan of what this Jets offense could do next year. And I think Zach Wilson is the perfect guy to lead it. I think I would have rather have Wilson here for fantasy than even Fields, because I think what Wilson does is better for this wide receiver group. So I'm a huge fan of him. Lawrence, and also Justin Fields. They're my top three, and Zach Wilson might be 3, but he's also kind of 2 for me. It's very, very close. They're like a 2A and 2B for me in drafts. But because I mean, like we said, we don't know how long Dalton's going to start, and Zach Wilson is going to start day one, and I'm very excited to have him on my team. I will be drafting him as a backup, probably. Even in one quarterback league, I'll probably take a chance on him late for sure.
Yeah, true. And I was not as enthusiastic as I was, but then they took Elijah Moore. Then they also ended up with Michael Carter as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about Carter for sure.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that. Oh, that could be sneaky. But I mean, yeah. I mean, the weapons that also they picked up tight end Kenny Yeboah as an undrafted free agent. You never know, because I don't know at this point.
Sure.
I mean, who all's there? Chris Herndon. I mean, how long are we going to keep watching that? You know what I mean?
And
I've given up.
Griffin as well. Who? Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a fan of these guys, but they do have Ryan Griffin. It's the thing. He's there. Look, tight end, warm bodies. It'll stop probably someone like an undrafted rookie getting there. But yeah, I'm not interested in any of the Jets tight ends though. So yeah.
Either way, more weapons than I kind of thought
Sure.
he would have at his disposal. So it's just like, oh, geez. I'm starting to warm up on Zach Wilson. I think I was a little.
You should, my dude. You need to.
Yeah, I mean, I currently have not figured out where I want to rank him, but the more I've thought about it, I definitely agree with you. I don't have a spot for him on my list as of now, but if I was looking to do the whole like pair a veteran with a rookie thing or like a young quarterback thing, very common strategy in redraft, I could definitely see myself pairing somebody with a Zach Wilson and just like, seeing if that ends up paying off. I'm definitely here for it. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. So once I have more
That's good.
conclusions and more things to say about it, I will inform the public. But yeah, I mean, there were a couple other names that were interesting that are probably more for dynasty purposes than for redraft purposes. Notably, Kyle Trask will be sitting behind Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. Kellen Mond out of Texas A&M will be sitting behind Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. And Davis Mills out of Stanford will be sitting in Houston behind who knows, because that's the whole thing.
Might not be sitting behind. Yeah, you never know, right?
Yeah, but any of those you want to quickly talk about? Probably more for
Yes.
the dynasty players out there.
Yes, absolutely. Kyle Trask. Oh my God, I'm so in love with Kyle Trask. He's my number 5 quarterback in Dynasty. I think legitimately, after Brady leaves the Tampa Bay Dynasty, which we're seeing the beginnings of, could continue with Kyle Trask at the head of for quarterback. I'm very, very excited about him. If you don't have a or if you don't need a quarterback in Dynasty, like at all, you should be looking very highly to get Trask, because I really think Brady has 2 years max. And I think this year could likely be his last year. And then Trask is taking over a very, very good team with a very, very good line, very, very good defense. I am very excited about him going forward. He was my QB5 going into this. I love what he does. He's got better receivers than Mac Jones does, and they're a very similar player in college. So, yeah, Kyle Trask all the way.
I definitely dig that. Oh, a name that I forgot that could be interesting. Not necessarily saying you have to prioritize it in your head, but Ian Book out of Notre Dame going to New Orleans. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, he's a little raw, but hey, I don't know. Sean Payton liked him. We'll see how that ends up. There are 2 guys ahead of him that are going to be more relevant in Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, and that's enough of its own headache. So
it's a headache. Yeah, that's what I'll say about that. It's a headache, and I kind of don't want any part of it, because I kind of feel like next year they could be in the market for a quarterback. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, that's going to be something interesting to follow, because I mean, you know, like the post Breeze era for the New Orleans Saints is like, I don't think they're going to be necessarily in the toilet, but it is going to be strange. Strange is the word of the day that I'm going to go with.
Yeah, you worry about the roster construction just generally. I feel like they could be in the toilet a lot sooner than people expect. It's a very tough division too. We'll see. We'll see.
I dig the vibe. But yeah, I guess that kind of does it for quarterbacks, which brings us to
there were
really
only
fun part.
Yeah. Well, there were only like 10 quarterbacks taken in this draft, like 9 quarterbacks taken in this draft, right? Yeah, 10. Yeah, so like not that many quarterbacks to talk about, you know?
Exactly. And like some of the other ones are just absolutely buried on their depth charts and probably don't really have much of a shot at being starting quarterbacks in the NFL, at least in my opinion. So, I mean, we could have that discussion, but I feel okay leaving the quarterback position there.
Yeah, same.
But now we get to the fun part. Oh my gosh, we get
to
the
fun part, Herms.
Especially because this fun part, rookie running backs, is headlined by Najee Harris going to the Steelers. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am going to be insufferable when it comes to talking about Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama, headed to the Steel City, Pittsburgh. You know, gosh, looking at it. So, I mean, I did a write-up, 2 write-ups for The Lateral, www.thelateralff.com. You can go and check them out, that I did before free agency started, before the draft started, before all of that, just looking at what I called fantasy football production opportunity, just looking at vacated targets, you know, however much those matter to you. It's kind of dicey, but also unaccounted for carries. So the Pittsburgh Steelers had 46.9% of all team carries completely vacated by James Conner leaving as a free agent. He's now in Arizona. The incumbent people left on the roster, you know, Benny Snell, Anthony McFarland, Kalen Ballage came in. But first round running back, I'm pretty sure we know who's going to, you know, get a bulk of those carries. Pittsburgh likes to run the ball. That's what they've always done. That's what they're going to continue to do. He is walking into the highest volume opportunity of any rookie running back this year. I am very excited about him. He is also a very skilled pass catcher, to the point where I could easily see him getting, you know, 4 to 6 catches a game, something around that, and really be able to put up additional value in PPR scoring. Now, I don't know how controversial it's going to be or whatever, but I don't care. I currently have Najee Harris as my running back 12 in my early redraft rankings. I really think now I could be talked into, bumping him down a little bit more into the high end RB2 conversation rather than the low end RB1 conversation. But at any rate, you can't really argue with the volume opportunity and you can't really argue with the talent. So, how you feeling about Najee Harris in Pittsburgh?
I feel like I could argue about the talent, but that's neither here nor there because he has so much opportunity. It probably doesn't matter. Yeah, like this opportunity, like you were saying, I mean, all that stuff's good. Yeah, like they don't have a running back. They got a running back in the first round. He's going to get a lot of carries, and that is very valuable. So he's definitely my number one rookie for sure, because of the opportunity I think there. But I'm probably around 20-ish for me. He's probably around there.
Okay.
I like guys like Carson, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins, CEH. I like Gaskin in front of him. Melvin Gordon maybe, but he's in that range for sure. I don't know what kind of offensive line is going to be running behind. It really bothers me. They didn't have a good offensive line last year. They lost guys. The guys they added in the draft, I'm not really a huge fan of. It's going to be a little tough, I think. But like you said, Pittsburgh does like to run the ball. They have a very good defense still, especially the front seven. So I assume they will have a lot of time to run the ball too. I don't think Ben is anywhere near what he used to be. You would agree with me with that. So probably want to use him running the ball a lot. I worry still about Najee staying on the field during passing downs because he cannot block at all. He's a terrible blocker. And I think that does, factor into, like you said, he's a good receiver. I think he's a pretty good receiver too. But if he can't block, the Steelers have a bunch of good receivers anyway. Bring someone who can block. Some possessions will lose out on that, but it's something to consider, But yeah, I mean, this is a clear number one rookie running back. He's the only one that's going into like an undisputed situation that will be the starter. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, and there are some people who may believe that a couple other dudes have a chance as the season goes on. We will get to those guys. It's namely, probably one of them that has a chance to take over for their, person in front of them. But yeah, dude, I don't know. And I guess part of this is probably, rose-colored glasses. I'm a big Steelers fan. Maybe okay. So I happen to like the offensive linemen that they added for the purpose of run blocking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little more optimistic about that. But to your point, some names that you had mentioned that you have over Najee Harris, some I have in common. I would prefer a DeAndre Swift. I would prefer an Antonio Gibson. Players like that. I have him currently ahead of Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Chris Carson.
Mm-hmm.
I have him ahead of those dudes, but I will say that is probably the range where I could be talked into lowering him on my list at some point, probably as low as like RB 16, maybe RB 17. So on the low end, I think we're right in line there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I guess with your rank and my rank, would that be a reasonable range of outcomes to expect from him?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I could consider moving out too. The volume is going to speak for itself, I think. So even if I'm, he's my third running back. In terms of talent out of draft, it's not like I hate him or anything. I think he's a pretty good running back for sure. I think he'll be better in like 2 years from now. But I do I just love the situation, and I could be taking him higher. I'll definitely take him in front of Cam Akers though. That is 100% going to happen. So I know that's going to happen. But yeah.
I don't know. I guess it was important to highlight that because what we just did there was reach an agreement that anybody who was hoping for, because a top 5 rookie running back is something that does happen. There's one or two dudes, every year or so that, have that real possibility to do so. He has the best chance of anybody to do that, barring injury. Had to say it 3 times because it's very important to point out. But even in our opinion, based off of all the things that we have in front of us to look at and project forward for, neither of us are particularly expecting that. So I guess kind of bringing it on home with Najee Harris. We feel good about him. We're very optimistic about him. But are we saying, oh, this dude totally going to be top 5? He's going to be the next guy to do it? Probably not. It would probably take an insane touchdown output for that to become a thing, which is kind of what it takes anyway. So I thought that was important to point out. I just thought that was important to point out. So we did. Wait. Oh, the team you root for, they took a running back, didn't they? You want to tell me about that?
A dumb running back that I'm not excited at all about. He was my 5th running back on my big board. Don't expect much from Etienne, man. He's still going to split with Robinson. I don't care if it's a first-round pick and Robinson was a UDFA. I don't care. He can't do the same things Robinson does, and Robinson probably can't do the things that Etienne does. So I think there'll be a split. And don't take him too highly. I'll say that. And then on the fantasy purpose thing I'm looking at, he is the 24th guy. He is in front of Myles Gaskin, which I will not be taking. I'll be taking Gaskin in front of him for sure. But he's on the lower end for a running back. It's like low on running back 2, running back 3. So, I mean, they're kind of about right there, I guess. But, yeah, don't expect big things out of him. If you're expecting that, you're going to be in for a rude awakening, man. I will say that 100%. Yeah, just don't expect too much from him. I don't think is that good of a guy, and he's going to be a split. He's going to be a guy who splits the rest of his career. So even in Dynasty, I'm not a huge fan of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that Travis Etienne gets to play with Trevor Lawrence at the next level again.
It is kind of cool. Neat. It is kind of cool, yeah.
But, I currently have him slotted in at RB 32. I have James Robinson still high up there at RB 22. So, yes, there is going to be a split, but at this particular point in time, without seeing, because I don't know if any of you guys didn't already know this, but training camp hasn't happened yet. So there's no reports for us to go off of. There's nothing for, any sort of optimism. And look, I get it. Travis Etienne, talented player, perfectly good. I think he'll be interesting. But at the same time, James Robinson did very well. It always stood to reason that they were going to bring in somebody to help alleviate some of that, the workload off of his James Robinson's shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, Etienne can't cut like James Robinson. Etienne can't break tackles like James Robinson. He's not going to be used in those first and short, second and short, third and short, first and goal, whatever situations. He's just not going to be used like that. There's no reason to use him like that. It'll be a Hyde and Robinson role, and I don't expect Hyde to be there too long for that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, wherever Etienne was going to go, he was going to be a guy like this. I think no matter where he was going to go, no matter what, he was going to do that. So I think you just really, really can't expect much out of him. I really want to caution people because I don't care how high the team's looking with draft capital. It's not going to translate to touches on the field. It's just not.
Yeah, and that's why I have him firmly planted in the flex range. I think that it would be super cool to have a guy like that you can roll out in your flex for sure. But to your point, if you're counting on Travis Etienne to be a super solid, reliable RB2, as it stands at this point, with what little we know at this point and what we're just, kind of, trying to project forward all the information we have now, I'm not quite ready to go there with where the Fantasy Pros ECR is. I'm not, you're not. And I think it all certainly stands to reason given his skill set and how he's likely going to be used in that offense.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, That's how I feel.
Yeah, dude.
I will say my second quarterback running back out of the rookie class is 100% not close. It's Michael Carter. He was my second guy that I liked as a prospect, but he goes to a backfield with Michael Pirine and also the oft injured Tevin Coleman, who I'm not really sure what his deal is. I think Carter could take over early on and be the guy the whole way. And people will be like, oh, it's a Jets running back. Who cares? Whatever. I think the Jets offense is going to be pretty good this year. It's not going to be as bad as it was in the past. They got a pretty good offensive line, new quarterback, new receivers, new running back weapon, man. This is going to be a pretty decent offense that you're going to want to be a part of when that guy is getting 20 touches a game.
Yeah, dude. And I saw recently that Ty Johnson sits atop the depth chart as it stands right now. And he's one of those guys trending on Sleeper or whatever. And okay, sure, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't have any Jets running back ranked right now, mostly because I have no idea. We're going to have to wait and see how certain things shake out. But that said, A, that does not mean that I don't also really like Michael Carter, and B, does not mean that, like one of them will be relevant. Am I necessarily 100% sure that it's going to be Michael Carter? No, I'm not. Like, I'm not super confident who's like it could be any of them at this point, but it's worth, recalling how talented he is. And even at his size, being only like what, 5'8", 5'9", the
Yeah, I
dude
don't care. Yeah.
runs with authority. He does the thing, and he's very, very good at what he does. Also, it could be interesting in PPR for sure, because I think he is a very capable pass catcher. I'm not sure it's something he's like super, super good at, but at the same time, he could be reliable in the pass game as well, which very, very important for PPR scoring, considering it's literally a point for every reception. So, yeah, that's a name that is definitely going to be interesting as we go along. He'll probably start the year out on the waiver wire in plenty of leagues, but definitely, if you play on ESPN or something and you have the whole like the watch button thing that you can, have your little short list of, my guys that I can watch, I would definitely hit the little flag icon on Michael Carter.
I'll be drafting him. Just saying, I'll be drafting him 100%.
Hell yeah.
In my leagues, yeah. But I mean, I get if people wouldn't. It's not like it's an uncredited situation. But I'm also just huge believer in the talent, and I think situations there for him to gain it. But yeah, I get that if it's not. Definitely keep an eye on it if you don't draft him. Definitely.
100%. The other name that really has me confused as to what to do is Javonte Williams going to Denver. Now, I adore this for Dynasty, but what it means year one, I mean, Melvin Gordon, even though it wasn't very pretty, was shockingly efficient last year. He ended up racking up a decent touchdown total. Now, keep in mind, I mean, that came over the course of like, maybe 2 or 3 games, but he performed fairly well. He's on the aging side, but it seems he's still pretty good. Now, the thing that Javonte Williams does have going for him is that with Phillip Lindsay moving on to Houston, Denver does like to divvy up the workload a little bit. He will be utilized right away. He will be an option for you, but the question is exactly how much volume will be coming his way. So as of this moment, I have Javonte Williams ranked at RB 35. I still have Melvin Gordon at RB 23 going into this, but it is going to be interesting to see because I think, again, as I've referenced a few times, the things we hear out of camp, like, yeah, coach speak being what it is, blah, blah, blah. But beat reporters always got some good insight. And, and hey, like I said way, way earlier, if anybody's going to be a top 5, rookie running back or whatever, I'm not really sure who it's going to be, barring injury. But if Melvin Gordon, for some reason, ended up getting hurt, or I'm not sure how much resolution there's been in the way of the DUI that he had. So I don't know. Maybe there could be discipline there. Who knows? Javonte Williams, interesting guy. That is the very lazy word that I'm going to use to describe him. Interesting guy. What do you think?
Yeah, he was my number one prospect in this running back group. I'm a huge fan. I think this is a good spot for him. I feel like he could have handled a full workload if he was given one, but if he has to split, I think it's fine too. Him and Carter both split in college, and they were great on a per game basis or per down basis. Not per game basis, probably per down basis or whatever, per touch basis. And I still like them both for that if they're able to do it. And if they're able to overtake, which I think is possible, even in both cases, although Melvin had a pretty good year last year, I was surprised, not going to lie. But yeah, I mean, for Dynasty, it's great too. But I'm a big fan of Javonte Williams here. He's just undeniably talented. And if there's any kind of injury with an older running back, which, Melvin Gordon is, we'll see him take over, and he is going to be there. I think 35 is okay for me. I think it might be a little higher than me because I know what Philip Lindsay was able to do there, and I think Javonte Williams is better. So I kind of feel like if he gets around 200 touches, 150 or 200 carries, 150 carries, something like that, he could be fantasy relevant, definitely. But not in a way that you're going to really want. Like the upside is, I think, capped by Melvin. So you don't want to go too high on him, which is unfortunate because he's really talented. But yeah, it's not like Najee, and I don't think it's like Carter. where they could do whatever and they could dominate forever. Like the upside is almost unimaginable, I think. But yeah, for Williams, it's just not, as long as he's a guy in front of him, which I expect, barring injury, obviously. But yeah, it's tough because I want to take him high. I want to have him. I really do. He's super talented, but just can't really in redraft yet, I don't think.
God, and there were so many other fun opportunities that would have been so neat. I mean, like, and also notably, Atlanta didn't really address anything aside from. I mean, they signed.
Mike Davis all the way. I'm taking Mike Davis all the way. He's going for it, dude. That offense is going to be electric, and he was so good last year. Do people forget? Do you forget how good he was filling in for Christian McCaffrey? He was legit a good player. I don't know why people hate him now. I'm so confused. But sorry, continue.
No, actually, no. Let's just expand on that. I think that's more interesting than me talking about Javian Hawkins out of Louisville. So,
yeah.
One of the big winners of this entire draft process, Mike Davis. Like you said, filling in for the injured Christian McCaffrey last year in Carolina, it kind of faded down the stretch a little bit, but he was a guy that was a waiver wire ad that may have, saved your season if you started off, poorly or whatever, or just, helped further bolster the dominance that you did have if you tried to play, keep away from the person in your league that managed McCaffrey on their team. But at any rate, all that to say, like, because even the research that I did ahead of time for, wow, I'm really struggling here. For Atlanta, yes, 73.5% of all their team carries were vacated ahead of free agency or whatever. So, I mean, somebody has to pick up that slack, and them drafting Kyle Pitts and doing all of that, it certainly stands to reason they are going to be more pass heavy. So all of those carries will likely not carry over, but someone's got to run the ball. It's not like they're going to pass it every single play. That would be ridiculous. So honestly, I still haven't figured out where to slot him in yet. He's not on my list, and that has nothing to do with it, because he will be, and he will be fairly high. Like I said, still early on in putting this all together, but because I don't know what to say, where would you approximately, anyway, slot in Mike Davis for 2021?
I'm taking him in front of all the rookies, so we can go ahead and dispel with. Actually, maybe take Harris first, because he's got. It's tough. It's tough between him and Harris, but I mean, even if they do throw the ball the entire time, Atlanta, I don't care. He was a great receiver last year for a team that loves to throw to running back. So, the situation is better this year. In PPR, he's going to be a star. If you get him past like RB2 levels, like if you see someone taking like a Melvin Gordon or a Travis Etienne in front of him, then your league's cooked, and you just take him at that point. Like there's no way those guys should be going in front of him. Kareem Hunt, even, like, I think these guys are more talented, but they're just not in the situation that Mike Davis is in. We spoke about this before with Najee Harris. It's a bad situation. Like I just don't get why people are off him. Do people forget what he did? Did people not watch the games? Did no one watch film? Does no one understand? Do people even pay attention to the stats anymore? It just boggles my mind. I don't know what a good argument would be against him. Besides, he guess he was a journeyman, but he was good last year. I don't know like where this is like coming from. He's got a better situation, a better quarterback, better receivers to take the guys off the line of scrimmage and all that. Like, come on, man. Where's the downside here? Where is it? I don't know where it is.
People will hold up the birth certificate and be like, aha, and like, but we talk about redraft, so it's like 1 year at a time. Like, okay, if you wanted to knock Mike Davis down a peg or two in Dynasty, like, yeah, sure. I mean, like, the long-term value of the asset's not there.
Yeah, fine.
But for our purposes, like, we're only looking ahead one season, so who cares? I mean, like, yeah, they didn't do a lot to address that. He sits atop the depth chart. I mean, like, yes, Cordero Patterson is there. Maybe he could end up, filtering in a little bit. I have no clue. But as it stands right now, Mike Davis is the starting running back of the Atlanta Falcons and will carry a lot of value, to your point. It's a good offense. And he's the dude. So if you're a starting running back for, there's only 32 teams, everybody. So, I mean, like, it means something. Like, I would definitely feel comfortable taking him at a reasonable. I mean, like, I'm not going to go to the moon and put him like, Mike Davis, like top 15, book it. Like, I'm not going to put him that high, but I feel pretty good about it. I feel pretty good about it.
I feel great.
Yeah,
just, generally overall. No, but I feel great about him for real.
Hell yeah,
Um,
dude.
yeah. So those are like the big five guys, right? We talked
Yeah,
about.
you want to completely flip the mood from going like super optimistic to super pessimistic? Because I can do that real quick.
Are there any guys that we should be super pessimistic? I feel like all the like other guys are like late draft capital spending. So like I don't know, but I will give some names that I think are sleepers for sure.
Before we do that, I did just want to slide in the whole San Francisco nightmare because they drafted not
Sure.
only one, but two running backs in what was already going to be a very bizarre situation because Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, the homeboy JaMychal Hasty already on the roster. Then they go out and sign Wayne Gallman, formerly of the Giants. And then they draft Trey Sermon out of Ohio State. And then they draft Elijah Mitchell out of Louisiana. So by my math, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a lot of running backs. So, like, what are we doing with San Francisco?
Not touching it, right? Can we just not touch it? Like I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. They could have like a 200-yard running back the next 1 week, and then we can go back to the old Patriots way where they start a new guy the next week. I don't know how you could want part of it. You know, I did have I did have Elijah Mitchell ranked as my ninth running back on my big board, so I like him more than Trey Sermon, who they took in the third, but yeah, I didn't want a part of San Fran last year, and I don't want a part of it this year. There's just no way. And if you're gonna take one, just take one of one of the later guys you can get, because you don't want to spend high draft capital on this and get burned. That's really what you shouldn't be doing. You know, if like Raheem Mostert's going, like I don't know where he's gonna go, but if he goes like as like a top 2 run or top 24 running back, just stay away, because there's no guarantee. You're just wasting your draft capital there. Probably it's way more of a risk than you need to take there for sure. Take a guy like Mike Davis instead, please.
Hey, there you go. You heard it here first, folks. But yeah, you know, it's the classic, you know, if there's a hodgepodge of running backs and you're not sure what to do, whoever has the lowest ADP, if you really want to take a shot in the backfield, just find the clearest value, stash them, see what happens. Worst case, you got waiver bait, and you can cut ties and move on entirely. That's kind of already how I felt about the San Francisco backfield, but now it's just, you know, exclamation point. Woo! So much fun. So much fun. Oh, God, it's going to be terrible. Oh, God. Okay, so I really wanted to touch on that, but you did say the word sleepers. That is one of my favorite words whenever we talk about fantasy football. I think I know at least 2 of them that you're going to talk about, but lay them on me, Jesse.
Wait,
lay
no,
whoa,
I want to know who you think. I'm very curious. I want to know who you think.
One that I am very intrigued by, very, very intrigued by, is Kenny Gainwell. I thought, you know,
that's one of them.
landing in Philly was kind of tight, dude. You know what I mean? Because, like, I don't know, like Miles Sanders, like, he has capable hands, but Kenneth Gainwell, I mean, those hands are strong, bro. You know what I mean? Like, if that ended up being a little bit, because I feel like there was like a smaller segment of the community, admittedly myself included, that was like, I don't know, Boston Scott might be a thing. Just as like a guy, you know, kind of off to the side. Maybe he'll get, you know, a little bit of that. Didn't end up working out, but I mean, but like that's what Kenneth Gainwell does. And they drafted him. And, you know, it wasn't like a super early pick, but it wasn't like the 7th round either. So it's like, huh, okay. What are we doing with Kenneth Gainwell?
Yeah, he's a good sleeper. He's one of the guys I was going to talk about, the 7th running back on my big board. I am a fan, and I think you're right. Like, he probably beats out Boston Scott for the role behind Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, right? Right, mm-hmm. That's a guy. Right? Okay, yeah. I'm crazy. I'm a Penn State fan. I should know all this stuff. Oh my god. But yeah, I think he's in probably one of the better spots you can get for like a late round running back for sure. If anything happens to Sanders, or maybe they get a little split time, like you said, receiving, I think he's a guy that you should definitely go ahead and check and watch that guy, because, man, you know, I think it's kind of evident from this draft, even a lot of these guys are going to be, you know, secondary pieces in offense, or like, you know, split pieces. And if we're looking at like a rookie draft, or we're looking at, you know, any dynasty stuff, and we're looking to get running backs out of this, they're all going to be guys who kind of split, and Gainwell's pretty good at that. And he's in a position where he could split pretty well. So I just like him a lot for sure. Yeah, I think he's a really good sleeper for sure. Yeah,
I've
fifth
got him
round
as
pick.
my
Love it.
RB 41 in my
That's pretty
early
high.
redraft
Yeah.
rankings.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's in the range where it's like
Yeah.
guys who maybe could be a flex, but also like if anything happened to the starter, we feel good about the backup range. You know what I mean? And that's a range that I really like, especially when building the bench of my team. That's the range I really like to hammer a lot because, yeah, if it gets deep enough into the season and nothing's really happening or whatever, like cut bait, if the person in front of them, gets hurt, that's a risk you're willing to take, is what it is. But if something happened early, then like you're already sitting on a gold mine. So it's like, hey, and is Kenneth Gainwell somebody that, I, see with like, true 3-down, skill set? I mean, like, no, probably not. But if he were given, the bulk of the workload, if for any reason Miles Sanders weren't going to play, and like whoever would come, like run behind him and spell and like all that stuff, I mean, like they would have interesting value as well. But yeah, I mean, the situation, he's clearly vaulted to the RB2 spot in Philadelphia. Like, I'm glad that we talked about that because I feel like, and people have. It's not like we're the only ones. I've seen him have some pretty solid appeal in the rookie drafts that I've done so far for my dynasty leagues. I mean, like, he's not going as high as he once was, because before he landed in Philadelphia, there were people, he was like an early second round pick in a rookie draft. But I mean, maybe not so much now, but at the same time, like we said, like, I mean, the dude's good. The dude's good.
Yeah,
And it's
talent's there,
not
I
like,
think.
yeah, the talent's there, and it's not like this is a dead zone. It's not like he's buried. Like it's not like Ramondre Stevenson going to the Patriots or whatever, and which
Yeah.
he's like, just like a different version of Sony Michel who's already there. Not the same type of shit. So yeah, those dudes definitely interesting. I don't know how many other rookies did I even have on my list so far.
It is tough for
None,
running back for sure.
none of
Yeah.
yeah, none of the other ones have cracked my top 50 as of
Ooh.
now. Well, just because, again,
Oh
like
yeah.
we still got a lot of things to see first, but you know, seemed like you had a couple other names, so throw them out there.
Yeah, so I only had two. I feel bad now because I only two, and you said one of them. But the other one, and this is a guy who I could definitely see taking over, and actually being the first RB there, and that's Khalil Herbert. He was my fourth running back on my big board. Big fan of the guy out of Virginia Tech. I legitimately think there isn't that much competition in the Chicago Bears backfield, and he's a guy who I believe in the talent a lot. I have him ranked over ETN. I think he could overtake and be an actual starting running back, full go with the Bears. I think that could be pretty good. I don't know what to say. I feel bad about saying this too because how are you going to trust me unless whatever? But I saw the tape, man. He's there. I gave him like a B- grade. He should have been the third round pick for sure. If he went to San Fran, I probably would have been a lot higher on this. On that backfield just in general, but they took like 8 running backs anyway. But I'm a big fan of Herbert. I think he's really good, and I think he's a guy who can, in a backfield that isn't that settled. I mean, they got Tariq, he's hurt a lot. Not really sure what Montgomery's doing. He could take over and be the guy. I think that's definitely possible.
Yeah, because and similar to you, I mean, I had just in terms of like the talent when I was going through it, I think I had Khalil Herbert fifth, maybe sixth, whatever. Not the point.
Mhm.
Still very high. And people will point to like, oh well, Damian Williams. I'm like, okay, he hasn't even played football in a year. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not worried about that. The COVID opt out, formerly of the Kansas City Chiefs, for those of you watching and listening at home. Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of a non-factor thing. I wasn't really that worried about it, but like, yeah, dude. I mean, the depth of the Chicago backfield was very evidently a problem last year after Tariq Cohen went down because at that point it was just like, uh, okay, David Montgomery, go, and they didn't really have anybody else to kind of like spell behind it. I mean, like yes, Cordero Patterson had like flashes of like mini relevance, but that was kind of
Mhm.
it. Like, dude, Khalil Herbert, very, very talented player. I really like just the fact that like he's a very solid, like, really puts his shoulder down, just does all that stuff. Cause I'm not really a big fan of the Frankenstein runners that just do the super upright thing because I mean, like, that puts you at such a potential disadvantage to be chopped down very early, like easily by a
Mhm.
defender. Khalil Herbert doesn't run that way. He's a very just like aggressive, get through that shit, do it type of dude. And I'm here
Yeah.
for it. I'm definitely here for it. Definitely a huge rookie sleeper that could potentially pay off. I'm glad that we're on the same page on that. I was kind of nervous about saying it, but
No, say
you
it, man.
have made me feel good about it. Khalil Herbert, we co-sign the lateral favorite. Boom, there he is.
Yeah, and I think like we mentioned, I think like people know this draft class running back wasn't that great anyway. So you got to take what you can get where you can get them. And I think I don't think Montgomery is a bad running back by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not sure how sold they are on him. And they didn't really spend that much on Herbert, but he's a guy who can come in there and definitely make an impact. Like I said, fourth running back on my big board. Also, he does stuff that ETN doesn't do, like actually fall forward, which is a huge thing for me. Fall forward ability, which I don't know if people talk about this. I feel like no one talks about it, but guys who get that extra little bit, just stick the ball out, just fall forward a little bit more. It's so much more impactful than just having a guy go down immediately, which is what Travis Etienne does. PT does. I don't want to turn this into a shitting on Travis Etienne show, but he's on my team now, so I have that privilege to do that. Okay.
I feel you, dude. Hey, do whatever you got to do, bro. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I guess that kind of takes care of the quarterbacks and the running backs, unless there's anybody else you wanted to talk about.
There isn't too much. I didn't pay attention really to the UDFAs. I don't know if there's anyone there that's interesting, but I did. Did Jarrett Patterson go somewhere? Did he get picked up by someone? Because he was another guy I liked.
Football team.
He is on the football team. That is correct. Not a great situation, but I think he could fill in the role for what's his name? McKissick. If McKissick's no longer there, I'm pretty sure he still is, but because it goes down or he gets traded or something like that happens, he would be really, really interesting for that kind of role because I think he's a similar kind of player. And I would like him there, but because he's my 8th guy on my big board, yeah, I would have liked seen Chuba Hubbard go somewhere too, but he's unfortunately stuck behind, Carolina. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have too much to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hopeful for Jarrett Patterson to potentially fill in and be the Peyton Barber type dude in the situation where just like if you really just need a bowling ball to punch through and do whatever, he could have some interesting super short yardage impact. But the guy that I think is kind of interesting, I guess, just to throw out there, probably more so for Dynasty than anything else, the Dolphins very, very late took I believe it's pronounced Jared Dokes out of Cincinnati. I mean, he's absolutely built, but he dealt with a lot of injury problems in college. So I think that kind of impacted certain things. But, they didn't really address the position otherwise in the draft. So, I mean, yes, I understand that Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed and, Malcolm Brown coming over from the Rams, there's still a lot of people in front of him. But, hey, you never know. You never know. I'm throwing it out there.
That is true. Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
he's built, because because I think I looked it up on Player Profile earlier. I mean, he's well over 200 pounds. I mean, he's a bigger dude that has the physical skills to be able to carry a 3-down thing. So I don't know. I guess if anything were to happen, keep an eye on that.
It's important.
But, yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, way more of a dynasty stab that you could take. Probably not so much in redraft, but hey, man, I don't know. A lot of people are saying who could be this year's James Robinson, which again is a completely ridiculous game to play in your head because it's not that's something that happens every year. But if we're going to give the superlative to somebody, I would give it to Dokes in Miami. So there you are.
I don't hate it, man. I mean, people don't seem to think that backfield is settled, which I can kind of agree with. As much as I love Gaskin and Ahmed's okay too, but I mean, there's room there for sure. There definitely is room there for someone to get there, right? So definitely keep an eye on it. You have to, you have to do that.
Why not? And hey, for all we know, there's a vet on a team right now that we don't think is going to get cut that ends up being cut, and then maybe they end up in Miami, and this whole thing with Gaskin gets ruined. It's still possible, but hey, man, I don't know if you're gonna. It's kind of like I was telling you before we went live. You know what I mean? I ended up taking Dokes late in a rookie draft that I did because I was just I'm investing more in the backfield than I am necessarily in the player because I still don't know a ton about the guy. I mean, I did minimal research and that's about it. So
sure,
I can't speak with any sort of authority about this, which is again why I am primarily a redraft analyst because it's my wheelhouse, man. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a college expert, But hey, man, invest in it. Do all that shit. Do what you got to do. I don't know. I could just say a bunch more words, but we're already over the hour mark, and I feel like we did a good job with this. I think I may have had some miscommunication with the time with the guests that we had planned, but it be what it be. Hopefully, we'll have them on another time. But in the meantime, I am Herms. You can find me on Twitter at HermsNFL. I do all sorts of stuff here, also with 14 Personnel, and also with the Rum Boys Fantasy Network. Look for all the things that I do. Boom. There's my outro. I had it right the first time. Jesse.
Yeah, true. I'm Jesse at Bacon Games. Jesse on Twitter. Find me there, posting stuff. I'm gonna get my draft reactions out, my full reactions soon. I'm really excited to talk about that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I had a great time talking rookies. I love talk about them. We'll get the wide receivers and tight ends next time, I assume, and it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Look out for that on Friday. We're going live again on Friday. It's going to be super cool. I'm pretty sure we have that scheduled for 7 o'clock p.m. So be on the lookout with that with our buddy Dave Kluge. It's going to be super cool. But until that happens, this is over. So I'm going to end the broadcast, as is tradition.